Hi, no, actually. Morning, everyone, and welcome to my channel and the start of a new reading blog. I was going to say it's weekly, but I think this is going to go over a week long. In fact, I know it's going to go over a week long. Anyway, I'm Simon. Welcome to my channel. I don't normally do it this way around. As you'll have seen, it is Friday the 24th of March, and that is my birthday. And I am 41 years old today. I know, I can't believe it either. There's a whole thing around getting older, isn't there? And I just think it's all bollocks, and we should just celebrate the privilege of getting older, frankly. And I have to say, I love feeling 40s. I know that sounds really weird, but I do. Anyway, so birthday today, got a lovely day planned ahead. Going to shortly be going out for brunch at one of my favourite places, Hart Farm Shop. They do the most incredible rosties ever. So really looking forward to that, and then out. Then probably going to do some shopping, and then out later this evening to see a show, which I'll tell you more about later. But I thought I'd tell you about what I am planning on reading in this vlog, for it will have a theme of sorts, and that is books for work. So over the next week and a half, I have got 3 different events with 5 different authors. I've also got a few meetings about some freelance stuff and a judges meeting for the Royal Society of Literature Christopher Bland Prize, which I'm one of the judges for this year. And so yeah, I thought I would try and capture that a little bit. I was going to do a sort of ask me anything about work, but it's going to be so bonkers this week, I feel like I'll forget or whatever. So I'll do that at some point when I'm doing kind of lots of different jobs, because I'm not actually at my part-time job over the next week and a half. I'm back on the 5th of... No, I'm back on this... Am I back on the 4th or the 5th of April? I think I'm back on the 5th of April. The first event that I have this week, or in the week ahead, because it's Friday, so it's pretty much the end of the week, is on Monday, which is a rescheduled event with Emilia Hart, who has written Wayward, and Beth Underdown, who has written The Key in the Lock. These are both books I have been keen to read, and as I talked about in a video that will have gone live today, I'm really keen to find the reader that I am over the next year, and I'm sort of using my birthday to start things afresh. So on Twitter, I'm going to be keeping a list of everything I read with like a short synopsis of my thoughts, not necessarily a synopsis of the book, because you can't do that, even though I think they've extended the characters. But I'm also going to try and get a snippet of every single day over my 41st/42nd year. I always forget that you have like an extra year. Maybe it's denial, who can say? Anyway, I'm excited to read these particularly because I have always really loved a good gothic yarn, and I believe both of these are that. I haven't read them yet, I'm going to be reading them with you, as it were. I think as well, something that I really want to do with talking about the books in reading blogs as I go is sort of start... It's kind of have 4 parts to it. So what I'm hoping for with the book, before I've even picked it up, whether I've read the blurb or not, my initial thoughts when I'm like 50 odd pages in, my thoughts halfway, and my thoughts at the end without spoilers. That is the plan. So the first one I'm going to be reading is Wayward, and excuse me. This, I should also say, is the stunning Waterstones spread edition. I'm obviously not going to be reading this. I'm going to be reading the proof because I want to keep this pristine. Oh my goodness, I've just seen on here, look, the crow flies at the top. How brilliant is that? Maybe there's crows in it. I love a crow. I really like raptors and birds of prey in general. Anyway, is a crow a bird of prey? I think it is. I'm not sure. Let's all move on. Off for brunch now. Hoping to then go and have a little potter around Home Sense, which is the more housey TK Maxx. It's like a sister store, and pick myself up some birthday treats. But I will report back when I'm back. I don't think I'm going to do twinkly music over this because it's going to be snapshots. So you'll have a little bit of background noise, but I'm sure you don't mind because it probably won't be for very long. I need to get back into the swing of like recording more stuff, because while I was in Mexico, I only got back yesterday, I was dreadful at filming anything there. So I've really got rusty. So we'll see how we go. Hi everyone, I am now back from a lovely brunch, and I thought I would flash my wares No, don't be dirty. I'm on about the things I bought while I was out shopping before I give you my thoughts pre Wayward, which I'm going to start in a little bit. First up, now I had bought one mug this size that's kind of got a blue rim to sort of there. However, I found three more, they're more speckledy like this one, and I was just delighted. So I now have a set of these massive, I think they're pint mugs. I did have some amazing pint mugs from lovely Elizabeth McNeil, but they've all chipped over time. I'm sure these will do, because mugs sadly don't last forever, which, let's not talk about that. Let's not bring up sad things on my birthday. So I got these, thrilled. Got a candle, of course I did, because it's in TK Maxx. This is Weathered Spice, which would probably be the Spice Girl I would be if I'd been one. And spicy, woody, it's given me like a really musky vanilla, but with loads of spicy and woodiness, which is generally the smell that I like to go for. And I got a bean bag, which you'll have seen, which I am praying the cats don't get into and tear, because that would be a tragedy. It's gorgeous and it's just the right colours for all the other colours that we've got in the lounge. And then my finest find, I think, is this doorstop, which actually I think might go on top of my radiator, just more as a piece to look at in the library. How amazing is that? I love fire dogs, and to have one of these, I feel this is very Jessie Burton as well. Actually, I might have to send her a DM to say, if you've not got to TK Maxx, get to these, because this made me think of her. So on to Wayward, which I'm going to start shortly, as I've got a few hours before we go to the theatre. And as I said, I'm going to give you my thoughts before I even started it, then around 50 pages in, then halfway through, then at the end, all without spoilers. And that's my plan going forward with all books in reading blogs. So my what do I want to call it? Not predictions, but like, what is it? My assumptions, my pre-read thoughts. I don't know. I need to find that word. Well, what I've gathered from it, because I don't read blurbs, as you know if you've been here a while, but I believe it's about 3 different generations of women who all are waywards, whatever that might mean, and who I think have something witchy going on. And that is something that I have always enjoyed. I've always loved a good witchy tale. I grew up in a very sort of foresty part of the Peak District. And so that's kind of been something that's always, like as an adult reader, chimes into something in my childhood reading. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm also hoping it's a bit kind of girl power, going back to Weathered Spice and me being that Weathered Spice girl. And yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. But I don't know yet, because I haven't read anything. So I could be completely wrong. But I will let you know what my thoughts are once I've got to about 50 pages in. And yeah, we'll have a catch up then. I'm hoping to have some cake before then. I haven't had one yet, and it is my birthday after all. Cake of birthday number 1. No, you can't have any. Neither can you. Hey everyone, it's later on and I have read about 60 pages of Wayward and I'm really enjoying it. It's over 3 different time periods, and in the 1600s, early 1600s, we meet Altha, who is in prison awaiting a trial, very like the one of the Pendle Witches, but not a Pendle Witch trial. And then we go to 1940s and we meet Violet, who is a young woman living with the mystery of her mother and what happened to her in a very loveless house. And then in 2019, actually I think it goes 1600s, 2019, and then to 1940s, we meet Kate, or is it Katie? No, Kate, I was right, shouldn't doubt myself, who is leaving her partner Simon, an absolute dastardly Simon. I mean, honestly, Emilia, how to cut me to the quick. He's a horrible character who has been coercively controlling her and getting more and more and more controlling, and so she has fled to Wayward Cottage, which was owned by her aunt Violet, the Violet that we meet in 1940, and that's kind of where we're at, and it's sort of setting the scene for each of them. And what I'm really enjoying so far is they all are great characters, and they're all intriguing and I'm not drawn to one over any of the other two. Yeah, I was gonna say one over the other three, would that make four? Maths is not my thing, books is my thing. So I'm really, really, really enjoying it so far, and there's a brooding sense of atmosphere pretty much from the off. So yeah, very much my kind of thing. Now, one thing I wanted to mention is, and it's not a workbook, but I just wanted to let you know I read it, that actually the first book I read in my 42nd year is Pessimism is for Lightweights by Selena Godin, 30 Pieces of Courage and Resistance. I had the Pessimism is for Lightweights pamphlet, which was 13. This is obviously more. It's just incredible. The perfect, powerful, honest, punchy book to start your, well, to start kind of a new year, really. So I thought I'd mention that. I am, as I said, going to be keeping tabs on what I've been reading on Twitter. So each book that I read will get something about it. So head there if you're not already. I don't know what I'm going to do on Instagram. I think it's probably going to just be like wrap-ups on the grid and then maybe post what I've read as I go. But we'll see, because my book posts on the grid, single book posts, just do dreadfully. I just thought I would mention that. I read that and another bookish link, because I'm about to get in the bath and sort this mad hair out before I go out and see a play in Liverpool. The title has complete Top Girls, which came out in 1982, the year I was born, and I think has a Liverpudlian setting, or part of it does, and is starring Lauren John Joseph, who wrote this fabulous book, At Certain Points We Touch, which I read last year and didn't talk about enough. Another one of those. There are quite a few of those because of 2022, the year of burnout and therefore book burnout. But I thought I'd mention that, so I'm really, really looking forward to that. Gonna have some food before we go. It's one of my favourite things: prawn cocktail, followed by lasagna, followed by I think is it a tiramisu we've got, or a lemon meringue pie? They're both my favourite puddings, so it's one of those. Anyway, that I thought I would just mention, and yeah, if you've not read this, do. So there we go. I will probably be back tomorrow morning when hopefully I'll have read more of Wayward and can chat to you about it at the halfway-ish mark. I will see you all then. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. Savages. Happy birthday to you. Morning everyone, it is now Saturday the 25th of March, so I'm 41 and 1 day old. The show last night was brilliant and Lauren was fabulous. It started off so weirdly. It was like 4 women from history who had died having dinner with this woman in the 1980s who become like one of the first ever managing directors, and then it kind of goes back to her family roots in Liverpool and then actually back to something else that happened in the past. But yeah, enjoyed it. I'm also very much enjoying Wayward by Emilia Hart. Oh, it's so pretty. I am almost like 2/3 of the way through. I have been devouring it and forgetting to talk about it at the halfway point. What can I say without spoilers? That is the question. So I can say that Altha is in prison and has gone on trial for the supposed murder by witchcraft of her childhood friend's husband, and there are clearly some secrets that haven't been revealed yet about what was going on there. There almost feels like a sapphic thing between Altha and her friend. Then with Violet in the 1940s, she's had an odious relative come to stay and something horrific has happened, and she's also trying to unlock the secret of her mother and why nobody has anything to say much about her. And then Kate has, well, she's having to fend for herself after leaving Evil Simon to go and stay in her aunt, or is it great aunt's cottage, Wayward cottage. And she's discovering much more about her aunt and her family history that she didn't know. and also there's a lot of ripples of the effects of how awful men are to all these different women in different time periods, and how history can repeat itself and how tragic that is. I will be honest, wanting a tiny bit of magic, because you get like little glimmers of potential, and I know it's a witchy book. So yeah, I'm hoping though that means there's going to be like an epic amount of magic towards the end, and yeah. Anyway, the writing about nature is beautiful. There's a lot of it in this book, and yeah, I'm literally devouring it. So I don't want to talk anymore. I want to get back to the book. That said, I also need to get ready at some point because it is Pip's hen do today, and we're off to go and have afternoon tea, make floral headdresses. Then we'll come home for a bit, and then we're off out for a lovely dinner. So yeah, that's the plan. Anyway, I've held this up for quite a long time, and my arm is getting sore. Goodbye until later.
Oh, you've got a double chin. Don't do that. And then you can have a selection of the flowers.
Oh, look at Chris. Hi everyone, it is I think about 4:30 on Saturday, back for a little break. Chris has had to have a power nap after all the excitement of making floral headdresses at Pip's hen do. We're off to go and join everyone for dinner. We've been back for a little bit, and I have finished Wayward by Emilia Hart, and my overall thoughts are that I enjoyed it very much. I devoured it very quickly. The magic when it came I thought was absolutely brilliant. I loved the way Altha's story twisted and turned, particularly towards the end, and I liked some severe revenge that went down with, I'm not going to say who actually because I don't want to spoil it. So I enjoyed the revenge magic, and I enjoyed the twistiness of Altha's story as it came to sort of its, well, conclusion before the end of the book. I think it's a very minor quibble, so please, Emilia, if you see this, do not take this to heart. I loved the magic so much. I think I would have liked it a little bit earlier, or to have gone on for a little bit longer and just be drawn out a bit more, because it was so blinking good when it happened. It has reminded me how much I enjoy a witchy book, and with all the, are they calling it witchrature or witchlit at the moment? I don't clearly have my finger on the publishing pulse right now. I would like to do a witchy reading blog, I think, at some point, because I've got quite a few books that would fit that bill, and this has reminded me that it is something that I really, really enjoy. So, Wayward. Very much enjoyed it. Really looking forward to talking to Emilia about it on Monday. Before I talk about my hopes for the next book, or my first impressions before I picked it up, I thought I would share with you what Pip very kindly got me for my birthday. It felt very odd getting a present from her on a day that we're celebrating her, but there we go. She got me this from Crescent Liverpool, which is a local indie company, and honestly, she knows me so well. She's got me 2 bath bombs, and all of the smells are very me. Particularly, there is a Himalayan salt scrub with rose essential oil, and that just like smells amazing when I take the lid off. And then it's not 1 rhubarb and rose soup, but 2 soap. Although I would probably quite like rhubarb and rose soup if it was cold. I suppose you'd call that something else, like a coolie or something. Anyway, 2 of those, and then an apple candy soap as well, which is stunning. And how camp is this? Brilliant. A Thai lime and mango body scrub. So there we go. Huge thanks to Pip, and I should enjoy using those in the coming weeks. I've got really into a body scrub, like wash scrub, not like a post-wash scrub, like one that foams up and actually you scrub and it's soap. Anyway, or it soaps up. Anyway, so the next book I'm going to read, because I'm doing an event with the author on Monday along with Emilia Hart, is Beth Underdown's The Key in the Lock. I am loving that gold shiny. It's absolute magpie cover, that one. I have read Beth's previous book, which is all about, funny enough, witches, because it is the, I'm going to get this wrong now, the Witchfinder's Sister I want to say it's right. Yes, I was right. I was going to call it the Witchfinder General's sister, but it is the Witchfinder's sister, which is based on the witch trials in Essex. I thought it was gripping, propulsive, and I'm expecting similar things from this. This is giving me slight du Maurier vibes, which can have a kind of... I have a complicated relationship when books do that, in the fact that, especially if they've been compared to du Maurier, because part of me just goes, oh, come on then, show it, which is very... Well, my friend Catherine Hall wrote a book called The Proof of Love, which we weren't friends at the time. This book actually sort of cemented our friendship, or was the foundations of our friendship, and we've become really, really good friends since. But her book had Sarah Waters meets Daphne du Maurier on it. I was like, oh, really? Really? And it's an amazing book, but it's its own book. It's neither of those two authors like shadows of them even. It's Catherine Hall has her own voice. So there's that bit where I get excited because I'm like, oh, I love Daphne du Maurier, but then I also get like, oh, really? You think you've got the chops of du Maurier? So I'm interested to see how that works with this book. It's got keys and locks, so in my head that means there's going to be lots and lots of secrets. I think it's over 2 time periods, which I really, really enjoy. However, I think it's the same narrator, and that really intrigues me a lot, because it's that foreshadowing, and then, what's it called when, not hindsight, but like, well, I suppose it is hindsight, isn't it? Of the 2 timelines is quite exciting, so I'm hoping that that's in here too. I shall report back on what is and isn't when I have read some. I'm going to start it probably tonight when we get back, because Pip's like me, a bit of a nana, loves going out for dinner and a chat and everything, but likes to be in bed by 9/9:30. I'm not going to film any more from today, I don't think, because I just want to go and enjoy and catch up and stuff. I will be back to have a catch up with you about my first impressions, sort of 50 pages in, with this tomorrow morning. I shall see you then. Hi everyone, it's now Sunday the 26th, and I've had a very busy morning sorting out the house as Chris's cousin, who is my cousin-in-law, so my cousin too, but 2 of Chris's cousins, so 2 of my cousins-in-laws, are coming for Sunday lunch. Lindsay lives not far away, but Sue lives in New Zealand, so whenever she comes over, it's a good chance to have a really good catch-up. But before that, I thought I'd have a catch-up with you all, and I've got an apology to make, because I'm not talking to you about The Key in the Lock 50 pages in. I'm talking to you about 100 pages in, which is not quite halfway, but not far off, and there are reasons for this. Apologies, I sneezed. The 2 reasons for catching up with you now rather than at 50 pages in were, 1, I'm genuinely being pulled in and have been gripped by the brooding atmosphere, the already sense of real mystery that's going on. So there is that element, but also because it's set over 2 time periods. The first one in 1918 is where we find out that Ivy's son has died, and so we see her and her husband's reaction to that, which also sends her to memories from 1888, which we then go to when she had to go to Polneath House, which is the big house near where she lives, with her father, who's a doctor, after there's been a fire, and not the master, but his son, Edward's son, has been found dead of smoke inhalation in one of the servants' rooms, Agnes. And Agnes was packing to leave, so there's just lots of questions as to what's going on. And I wanted to get more into that, but also then it's a few chapters. Well, it takes us to almost like page 40, I think, before we go back to 1918. And I wanted to do that before I caught up with you, because I didn't feel like I knew enough about the more recent time period or Ivy's present. And now I do. And I'm really glad I'm talking to you a bit in, because I can give you some teasers without any spoilers to say the characters you meet in 1888 reappear in surprising ways in 1918. And also there is clearly some kind of, or was some kind of tension between Edward, the master's son, whose son died and who is a widow, and Ivy, although I also thought there was a bit of a tension, or sort of a hinted sapphic something between Ivy and Edith, her friend, who is mentioned a lot. But yeah, so now Agnes is kind of, well, there's a post-mortem's going to happen. Agnes is sort of not being tried exactly, but like questions around Agnes and what she was doing, and so Ivy is staying with her. And then we go back to 1918, where she's got back in touch with Edward for the first time in a long time after her son's death. And so we're going to go forward with that and what that means for her marriage. And then obviously we're going to go forward in 1888 with what happened with Agnes. Is Ivy going to find out? There's also some keys, but nobody's found any locks yet, so I'm assuming that's going to come up. Yeah, really enjoying it so far. I'm actually quite chuffed with myself because I was worried that I was going to make it sound super complicated, because it is complex. However, it's the sort of complexity that draws you in and you read along and you don't lose things along the way. You just really, really pay attention because you're really, really hooked. And I think Beth Underdown is playing a blinder with that one. That said, I think what I'm going to do is catch up with you rather than exactly in the middle, which is only going to be, I think, another like 20-30 pages, because I'm on 107, page 107, the exact page I'm on right now. I'm going to catch up with you instead when I finish, because I feel like I could give spoilers. And I'm going to instead work out how not to spoil anything, but also, well, I don't know where it's going to go. So I can't really, there's me trying to predict what I'm going to tell you in the future. I can't. I'm that far in. I've got the rest to go. But I will catch up with you probably tomorrow, because I feel like, having not seen Sue for a while, we're going to have lots and lots and lots to catch up with. Not having seen Lindsay for a while actually either. So yeah, and I just want to hang out with family and do that, and then read later and get this done before the event tomorrow with Beth and Emilia. Ooh. Hi everyone, it is Monday and I have finished Beth Underdown's The Key in the Lock. Had a lovely time with Chris's cousins yesterday. Lots of laughing and catching up, and yeah. Then read this last night and this morning, and I don't really know what to say. I don't want to give anything away. I do not know how people who have crime novel or thriller channels do it, and that's something that, if any of you do, I would like some expertise or tips from in the comments down below, because I want to talk more about this book, but I just kind of, what I can say is, as it goes on, there are lots and lots of secrets that are revealed, and there's twists and turns, and what I think Beth Underdown does brilliantly is you sort of, things are revealed to Ivy and therefore through you, and you kind of, sometimes you're a little bit ahead of Ivy and sometimes you're bang on the same time as her, and it's just really brilliantly done. You feel very much like, at the start I felt she was a bit aloof, and as it went on I got kind of closer to her, I guess. Is that the right terminology? I'm not sure. If you've read this book, without spoilers, please let me know your thoughts. It's interesting actually, because I was thinking about this. This is a really hard kind of book to review, and I think that it shows its brilliance and how wonderfully Beth has done. But I wonder if that makes it hard for people to talk about and rave about without doing something very short and sharp and just saying, I think you need to read this book. One thing I did want to mention that I forgot to yesterday as well is I love the nods to Du Maurier here. There's a few that I felt were specifically aimed at Rebecca, and actually Rebecca is mentioned in Wayward. This one had real nods, like the first line of the book is a little bit Rebecca-y. I still dream every night of Polneath on fire, and for those of you who've read Rebecca, you'll know how that really links into parts of that book, which I thought was brilliant. There's also a moment where Ivy breaks something and hides it, which is very much the case of the unnamed narrator of Rebecca. So there's little nods throughout, and there's a few others, and I'm not going to spoil any more, because if you're after some Daphne du Maurier Easter eggs, and this will be Easter weekend when this goes out, I've decided, then yeah, this is kind of perfect for you. I thought this was really, really good, and I look forward to whatever Beth writes next, because 2 books of hers have been 2 absolute hits with me. Very excited to be talking to these 2 later, which I'll try and get some footage of while I'm there. But before any of that, and before I get changed and all that kind of shenanigans, I thought I'd mention the next 2 books I'm going to be reading for my next event, which is on Wednesday with the wonderful Joanna Cannon and also Bobby Palmer. I haven't read Bobby's book yet, so this is the one I'm going to read next, and I've not read him before. It's his debut. I have read Joanna Cannon before. I've read 3 of her books before, 2 novels, 1 non-fiction. And I should say, I have read some of this, and so I can't do my preemptive thoughts or anything like that with you about it. But this, on the other hand, I can. Sorry, I had a little coughing fit. What are my pre-read thoughts about Isaac and the Egg? Well, one, I don't read male authors very often, so that's going to be really, really interesting. That's not a pre-thought, that's just a fact. From the blurb, because I have not written the blurb, I've read it. It says, Isaac stands alone on a bridge and screams into the river below. Something screams back. And that, like everything which follows, is unforgettable. That kind of gives me a shiver, the idea of screaming and something screaming back. It also suggests Isaac's going through a very difficult time. And it also suggests there's something other coming. And I haven't read anything that has that otherness, or I don't know whether it's going to be magic, whether it's going to be alien, whether it's going to be monster or whatever, but I'm quite excited for that and to find out more. So yeah, my pre-read thoughts are excitement, frankly. So I'll be heading to that tonight after my event with Emilia and Beth, which should be, if my cameraman does a good job, by cameraman I mean Chris, should be the next thing that you see. How do you know when is enough magic? How did you stop it from being too... It's a very deft skill with your book, I think, how you play that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's interesting because I think there wasn't as much magic initially as there is now, because I think when I originally wrote it, I was thinking it would be more of a subtle, like, did this really happen type of thing, but then I think it needed to be more definitive to have an impact, and I guess I had to think about what was the purpose of including the magic, because like as someone asked me in an interview, like, do I believe in magic, and well, I mean, I wish, but no. And so I thought, what do I want this to do, and why is it even in here? And I guess it's because I was trying to provide like the characters with an alternative narrative. And also to be sort of metaphorical in a sense for like the idea of women working together across differences and, you know, towards a common goal. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have like a lot of experience as a reader in like fantasy, apart from like the kind of things I read as a child. And so I guess maybe because I don't read like a lot of fantasy, the magic did become more subtle in a way, I don't know.
That's so good. And then back with yours, how it's so twisty, and how did you know how many, like, how did you know, like I said, it's that real gift, I think, that readers have, and you both do this in different ways of the book, like I said, where you drop something so the reader is surprised, or they're on it and they think they're clever ahead, but how do you know how to stop twisting? Because it just, that.
It was a nightmare, it just took ages. It's really horrible.
Was there a spreadsheet like Emilia had?
No, there wasn't a spreadsheet. There was lots and lots and lots of kind of literally moving chapters around, if you see what I mean, in response to kind of different readers saying different things. There wasn't a spreadsheet. There was similar kind of questions about like, what do I want the reader to know that she doesn't, or guess that she doesn't, and then versus when do I want the reader to be kind of completely with her. One thing I felt was kind of important is that as you get towards the end, I felt like we wanted to be with her more, rather than like pre-knowing things. But it was, oh God, it was so organic and horrific. I can't even answer that question. Like, it was traumatic. I've done it now. I don't have to do it again.
You did it so well. Like I really felt like I was with Ivy in the horror as she's gradually realizing one of the twists. I was like, oh my God, you know, it was so effective.
Morning everyone, it is Tuesday the 28th of March. Last night was lovely with Emilia, Hart and Beth Underdown. I have realised more and more why people go to see events, because when I'm hosting them, I learn so much more about the books from hearing from the authors, but also it changes my perspective a little bit on them, I think. It was lovely. Emilia and Beth were both fab, and the chat was great, and yeah, I just had a lovely time, and then went for a fabulous pizza. I'm becoming obsessed with pepperoni and chili honey pizzas. If I can get them, I'll have them. There is something about spiced honey and that pepperoni naughtiness that just does it for me. I also really like, I'm going to embarrass myself now, I really like stracciatella, which is like a quite This is going to sound awful. I was going to say soggy, but no, that's not right. And he said sloppy, but that's probably even worse. Cheese, like a mozzarella, like more so than even a buffata. No, not a buffata. You know what I mean? A burrata, not a buffata. Maybe that's the results of having all that cheese. Anyway, I also had a burrata salad, which was very, very nice. And I started Isaac and the Egg when I got back by Bobby Palmer because I'm hosting him and Joanna Cannon tomorrow night. So it's more reading under mild pressure and quite a tight deadline. It's bonkers. It's about a man called Isaac who is horrendously depressed, and he goes to a bridge where he basically wants to end his life. And as he does so, he lets out this absolute guttural scream, and something near the bridge in the woods screams back, and he goes and finds this big egg, and he knows as soon as he sees it he's going to take it home, and he does. And then the egg starts to change, and excuse my language for what I'm about to say, but it's fucking bonkers, but I'm absolutely loving it. I read that much last night when I got back, which is 3 chapters and 50 pages, and I'm hooked. It's nothing like I would normally read, but that's quite exciting. Also, I realise I don't read very many male authors at all, so this is kind of pushing my reading. Well, it's pushing the Savage Cabinet spectrum of reading in all sorts of different directions, which is quite exciting. But so far, so good. It turns out that... Oh, I've bit my own tongue. It turns out that as you read on, you find out that Isaac's wife has died, and so he's grieving. So I'm wondering if the egg, which is now becoming a creature, is real or not. But this sort of book, I would have thought when the egg became a crazy furry creature and went a bit honkers, I might have stopped enjoying, because I think it's really hard for an author to do something very outlandish and fantastical and keep every reader engaged. But this reader is very engaged, so I'm going to carry on reading that. And yeah, that's basically the plan for today. Read that this morning, and then probably after lunch switch to Joanna's A Tidy Ending, which I'll talk to you about then, but I'll talk to you more about this one first as I go. And my arm's going dead. I'm hungry and I want some breakfast, and I also really want to get back to Isaac and that fucking bonkers egg. Hi everyone, I've been kicked out of my seat by Oscar, but I thought I would tell you that I'm halfway through Isaac and the Egg. We just got to the end of part 1, and part 2 is called Shell. So it's pretty bonkers. The egg ends up living with Isaac. When he meets it, he feels like he's going to take it under his wing. Oh, pun sort of intended. We kind of just see it all from the perspective of Isaac and thinking, what the heck is going on with this egg? But the egg's just suddenly flipped the perspective and being like, Isaac, where do you disappear to? And what is going on in the locked room upstairs? So that's left me on an absolute cliffhanger, and now I can't wait to read more. So I'm blinking going to. I'm really, really, really enjoying this. Really enjoying it. Oh, look, there's my nana, Doris. Anyway, one thing I forgot to say is I will catch up with you when I finished. I actually need to go and get, well, showered and changed. Sometimes when I'm at home alone, I forget. So I have finished Isaac and the Egg by Bobby Palmer, and I can tell you that I really enjoyed it, and it took me in directions I wasn't expecting in the second part. But I can't really say any more than that, because the question mark around Isaac from the egg that I mentioned earlier at the end of part 1 is looked at, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody, because I do recommend reading this if you haven't. It is quite different from anything I usually read, which I think is one of the things that's really appealed to me about it. I liked its generosity, I liked its warmth, I liked the fact that it could be really funny and odd and quirky and bonkers, and then incredibly poignant and heartbreaking. I thought that was brilliantly done. Enjoyed feels like the wrong word, because it did get to me emotionally in a lot of ways, but yeah, I did enjoy it, because actually that can be quite cathartic sometimes. So yeah, big fan of this. Might not look at eggs in the same way again. Well, with the exception of chocolate eggs, I'm very much looking forward to getting to those quite soon. So that means I am going to be heading to a tidy ending. Now, as I mentioned before, I have read the beginning of this book, so I can't do my sort of preemptive thoughts on it because I'd got into it. Up to the point that I had got, it is about a woman called Linda who becomes kind of obsessed with a woman called Rebecca, who she gets mail from because she used to live in the house that Linda's now living in. And it's all this sort of idealistic, funky catalogue kind of stuff. And basically Linda feels like, I would quite like that life and I would quite like a friend like Rebecca. And so she starts looking into it. But at the same time, there is a serial killer in the area where she lives, and who that serial killer may or may not be, yeah, because I've got that point and it's made me think, may or may not be someone close to Linda. So that's where we're at. I will have a catch up with you when I'm about halfway through it, which could well be later on tonight. So I will catch up with you later. Oh dear, they've come to get me. Anyway, it's later on, it's a little bit dark, sorry about the lighting. Blimey, there's lots of them coming to get me. What did I do? Anyway, oh my lord, stop. Sorry about that, I am back now. And I thought I'd just mention, you'll have seen a clip from Daisy Jones and the Six. I'm watching it at the moment. I'm enjoying it very much. It's a little bit slower than the pace of the book was for me. I'm a huge fan of the book, and obviously Taylor Jenkins Reid. I've read 3 of them now, and I think before I even consider reading The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, I might have to order all of her previous books. Beside the point, enjoying it. Daisy, definitely my Daisy. Billy, not really my Billy. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm enjoying it overall, and I love the music. Something else I love, blinking Joanna Cannon's writing. I am so enjoying this. I'm over halfway. I think the way she makes the ordinary extraordinary is just kind of some kind of magic. I love how human her characters are, with all their foibles, their good points, their bad points, all the grey areas. Her sense of humour is just fantastic. It's, how can I put it? It's a bit like I was saying about Beth Underdown. There's a complex plot here, but it doesn't feel complex when you're reading it. There's just this real great complexity to it, and I feel like that about the characters as well. Actually, for me, this is a book that's really about envy and about the desperation to be wanted and to be a friend and to better yourself. The obsession about Rebecca that Linda has and the direction that's going, and also the who could the serial killer be. I think I'll say no more, and I will catch up with you when I've finished it, which I'm hoping, because I'm literally racing through it, will be tomorrow morning. I've got to read it for tomorrow night anyway, because I'm doing the event. Really loving it. And if you've not read Joanna Cannon, you must. I'll speak to you later, tomorrow. You alright there, Millie? Yeah? Comfy? Keeping it classy? Morning everyone, it is Wednesday and I am now that far through A Tidy Ending by Joanna Cannon. There's also quite a bird situation going on outside, lots of seagulls making a lot of noise, ambulances last night, nature this morning. That could have been a police car. Why am I saying ambulances? That was sinister. Although police cars also sinister. Moving on, this is not Road Watch or Nature Watch, although it might be Brimming Watch later. So I've got that far, I haven't finished it yet. I have, however, got to go to Manchester early because the trains are looking a bit dodge. So I'm going to get there early and then I'm going to go and hang out. Firstly, I think in Pollen Bakery, which I've been wanting to go to. Firstly, in Pollen Bakery, which I've been wanting to go to for ages, ever since Sandy Gladstone mentioned it. I'll link her channel, by the way, she's got one now. And then I really want to go and sit in the library, and obviously I will take you to them. And the event, I don't have my wingman / film crew with me tonight, so I don't know what I'll be able to capture, but I'll try and get a picture or something. Anyway, yeah, and then I'll tell you my final thoughts on this tomorrow. I will finish it before the event, obviously. Although, one thing I do sometimes do with a mystery or a thriller, and I do think Joanna Cannon's books always evolve I do think Joanna Cannon's books always sort of evolve around some kind of mystery in a way, which I love because it gives them the propulsion as well. I sometimes, if I'm doing an event, don't read the ending, so I can't spoil it. So there's a little bit of an insight, but I'm so gripped I need to know the ending. It's got twistier, darker, and I'm beginning to feel a little bit more unsettled by one character. I know that's vague, but that's the way it is. Anyway, I need to get up, have some food, get ready, and then head to Manchester. You talked about the little sparks that start the books. How much does it change for you from that spark, or what did you get out of it you didn't expect to as you wrote and finished it?
Gosh, I don't give spoilers away.
No spoilers yet, actually.
I knew the main plot of the book. I knew how it would end. I didn't quite know how I would get there. I knew some of the things that would happen to Linda. I knew about Rebecca. I knew about her annoying husband. But the rest of it, I just let Linda take me on that journey. So the spark happens. I think it always starts with a voice for me. I can hear a voice talking, which sounds vaguely psychotic, but I do know it's not real. And I just hear this voice, and I think, right, you've got a story to tell. You've got something you want to say, because you've got to. I heard Sarah Perry once, and she said, whenever you write a book, you've got to say to yourself, why am I writing this book? What am I trying to say? What do I want people to leave with? Not in a preachy way, but in what's the purpose of the way. So I always know my purpose. And Julie Cohen, another writer, said you should write down the theme of your book, one word that sums up what your book is about. You should write it on a post-it note, you should put it above your laptop, wherever you write. And every day when you're writing, focus on that word, because that's the theme of your book. So everything you do needs to be driven by that one word. And I thought it was such good advice. But other than that, I'm just like, let's make a mug of tea, sit down and see what happens.
What was the one word?
My one word for Linda's ending. So what's bottom is a savage.
What was egg? Egg.
Did you know when you started writing, you would, because you've written serial killer books?
Well, so
You knew that
I
eggs was in the woods.
I was the opposite once again of you there, because I knew everything that was going to happen apart from the twist, which I didn't know there was going to be a twist when I started writing it. And I don't want to say what happens, but I think the book would have had no point really without what comes to pass in the final few chapters. And I think it was really interesting that I got to the end of the first draft and then realised what the story was, and it was a really interesting experience, because I then the whole thing sort of unlocked itself for me, and I went back and rewrote the whole thing leading up to this point, and it didn't change that much, but it became something much better than I thought it was going to be, I guess.
Hi everyone, it is now Thursday, the 30th of March. Can't believe March is almost over and it is almost April. Like, where is the year going? That is bonkers. Last night with Bobby and Joanna was absolutely lovely, and I thought I would just have a quick chat with you, having finished A Tidy Ending, and say I thought it was brilliant. The twists at the end come quite thick and fast. I might have liked them to just be extended a tiny little bit to get even more of the twistiness out of them. But I guess the shock factor and the questioning a lot of stuff is what Joanna was going for, and it certainly worked. So yeah, I just thought this was brilliant, and maybe I just wanted it to be longer because I could spend so much time with Joanna's characters and her writing, and I just love how there was a real dark, glittery, glimmery end to this that I just thought was brilliant. So if you haven't read any Joanna Cannon, you really, really, really must. It's also just been really nice to go back to a favourite author of mine. I can say that she's a favourite author because I've read 2 novels and 1 non-fictional. Does it have to be 3? 3. Does it have to be 3 novels? Well, that's something I need to think about. Anyway, I haven't got the next book for my next event yet, but I can give you I'm not even going to give you a teaser. It's Elizabeth Day's Friendaholic, and I'm really, really, really looking forward to it and keep waiting at the postbox with excitement. So I'm hoping it arrives tomorrow because I've not got too much time to read it before I do an event with her on Tuesday, but I'm really, really looking forward to it. I know as soon as I get it as well, I'm just going to like properly binge it. I'm actually going to have a little break from reading because today I've got some meetings with some TV producers about bookish things, and we'll probably have to talk about books and authors in those. And then tomorrow it is the first Royal Society of Literature Christopher Bland Prize Judges meeting. Hope I'm more eloquent in that meeting than I am right now. I kind of want to go back, refresh my memory on certain ones in case I have to like defend them and it gets to like fisticuff times. But I am trying to document every single day, so I thought I would have a catch up with you now about this, and then I will catch up with you once Elizabeth's book arrives. So there we go. I'll speak to you all anon. I think I have a problem. I love hot cross buns too much. This is the state of the affairs in the orange room with my clothes post-holiday. I'm putting this on the internet to shame myself. Hey everyone, it is now Friday, I can't remember the date now. Oh, I've got brain fly basically. I've just come out of a fabulous meeting of the judges for the Royal Society of Literature's Christopher Bland Prize, which is for debut writers over 50. And it's a prize I'm judging with Mina Kandasamy, and our chair is Lem Cizé, and it was just so much fun. It wasn't easy, like we've got in some cases quite different tastes, but what I love when a judging panel is like bob on, which this one feels like it is, although the next one will whittle down more, so it could get a little bit tricky. Whittle down trickly, a little more tricky. The gloves might come off at the next one, but it was just really warm, really open. We had a real laugh while we were doing it, great discussion, and yeah, just a pleasure. So thank you, Mina and Lem, and also to Martha at the Royal Society of Literature, who was a fabulous sort of, she didn't steer us in terms of our choices, but just like how the meeting should work. And yeah, it was great. I feel booked out, or book talked out, which is not something I say often. I feel like I just want to go and binge quite a few episodes of Real Housewives. That said, that does link into the book that has arrived and is the book for the next event that I'm doing, and that is Elizabeth Day's Friendaholic, Confessions of a Friendship Addict. I'm going to be in conversation with Elizabeth in Liverpool on Tuesday. I adore Elizabeth. I first got to know her through How to Fail. Really loved that. Read the book. The divorce chapter really chimed with me, and I wanged on about it and then got a quote in the paperback. Then we ended up on the same show, Sky Arts Book Club, presenting on that, and got to know each other and became friends. And I just think she's ace. I loved Magpie, her last novel. I haven't read her previous ones. I feel like I'm going to go back to those. They're up there, and start from the beginning and then work my way along. But anyway, this one has arrived. I'm super excited for the event, although a tiny bit nervous because Elizabeth is such a good interviewer that it can be quite intimidating and hard to interview someone who interviews well, because they know how to swerve stuff. But that said, they also know what makes a good interview, so we'll see. Now, in the format that I am trying to do with books going forward, I should tell you what my predictions are for this, and I'm imagining this is kind of in terms of how to fail as a book was, looking at times that Elizabeth feels she's failed in her life with insights from other people. I get the feeling this is going to be the same about her and friendship and becoming a friendship addict, and how what that means, but also will be insights through other people on friendship. And friendship is a subject that I find a little bit tricky. I have this weird thing where people can be as lovely as they want to me, but I will internally be thinking, why would you want to be my friend? Why are you my friend? How come you're my friend? And to the point where, because I was bullied so much, I will start a friendship and then go quiet. I'm not good at texting and messaging and stuff really, and it's something that I want to work on. So I'm kind of hoping actually this will be free therapy too. So that's all of my thoughts. I don't know how triggering or not it's going to be, we'll have to see, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading it and to seeing her. So tonight is Lauren of Lauren and the Book's cozy reading night, so I'm going to head to quite a bit of this, but at the same time I think I'm also going to have a bit of a Real Housewives binge. But actually I have a feeling there might be some Real Housewife content in here because Elizabeth is a big fan of it and it's one of the things that we bonded over. I shall report back in due course when I'm about 50 or so pages in, probably later on. Morning everyone, it is Saturday morning. I read the beginning of Friendaholic, only the first introduction chapter in a bit, and I want to read a bit more because the first chapter still felt a bit like an introduction and sort of a setting of the scene and what we might expect going forward, if that made sense. So yeah, that's my thought on that so far, but I will talk to you more about that later on today. I say that, got quite a busy day from lunchtime because it is my father-in-law's 80th birthday today. His actual 80th. We thought it was his 80th last year. We were incorrect. Got him an iPad, and that's how it worked out that we'd worked it all out wrong. Anyway, gonna get reading now, and I'll catch up with you anon. I don't know what I'm doing with my face this morning. I've only just woken up.
Because I just had enough.
Am I going to like that picture?
It's video, not a picture.
You are going to do big things.
Just setting up a poll on Patreon for May's book club pick, which is going to be a Penguin Modern Classic. So it's pick up a penguin. If you get it, you get it. And we're besties. The end. Hi everyone, it's now Sunday and I had a lovely time at my father-in-law's 80th birthday yesterday. Really nice time. There was a little bit of drama. They broke down, so we had to, well, we were driving on the way and then we had to go all the way back and collect them because they'd actually been doing something near us. They don't live that near us, so that was quite random. Anyway, but it was really lovely. Went to one of my favourite chains of pubs and had some good grub and just a lovely time, and then came back and chilled out. Started watching The Power this morning, which I'm enjoying so far, more than the book, I'm going to say, because I wasn't a big fan of the book. Anyway, speaking of books, I realised I did not catch up with you again about Friendaholic yesterday, and I've now got halfway, so I thought I would just have a catch up with you. It is, as I was expecting, wonderful insights from Elizabeth about friendship and how she went from being a kid who didn't have many friends to then wanting to accumulate them and people pleasing and wanting everyone to like her, and then realising that actually it had gone too far, and so is reflecting. But amongst that, not only are there these sort of quite short snapshots of people's thoughts on friendship, she goes to some of her friends and talks about how their friendship came about, what their friendship means, what sort of a friend she is in reflection, sort of. And I think it's really brilliantly done. So really enjoying it so far. I thought I was going to find it a bit more triggering, is kind of an extreme word, but friendship is something that I overthink. A lot of you have said that you think I overthink on here, but actually for me, this is like us having a conversation, and if I was having a conversation with my friends, I'd be saying things and then thinking, how do I feel about that? Do I mean that quite like that? Etc. That to me isn't overthinking, that's more like soundboarding. Overthinking is something I do with friendships where I just like constantly worry that I've upset someone, or someone like, why are they my friend? And oh, dreadful. And also sometimes I have friend paralysis, I call it, where I go to text someone and think, why on earth would they want to hear from me? So some of that is looked at in here with what Elizabeth's gone through, and that has been interesting to hear someone be so open about that, because I don't think we talk about friendship that much. But also in talking to her friends, that's been really powerful too. There's a wonderful woman called Joan. Then she's been with a chapter that I've just read is about Charmaine, who I also know a little bit and gives the best hugs in publishing. There's something about the Real Housewives, as I expected, and I just think it's done with this openness and warmth, and not from a perspective of, oh, I've got too many friends and I just don't know what to do about it. It's kind of like, oh my goodness, I've got into all these friendship habits and why has that happened and how can I balance that out a bit? It's all about balance. I found the part on ghosting quite interesting too. So yeah, so far very, very, very much enjoying it. I'll talk to you more about it when I've finished it. I'm wary of wanging on too much because I think this is going to be the longest vlog that I've done on this channel. I know lots of you said you like a long one, oi oi, but this is getting quite extensively long. It's extending and extending every moment. I will be probably finishing this tonight. Chris is out with some of his work colleagues, so I've got plenty of time to read. So I'm going to go and head down, chill out with Oscar after having done quite a bit of admin-y stuff this morning. And yeah, I'll speak to you when I've finished this.
Jaeger bomb, Jaeger bomb, Jaeger bomb. And you know it comes in a glass that you could have a little tiny sort of, I don't know, creme brulee with a little fruit coulis in. Like 2 glasses in one. It was quite clever. I was like, do they make these especially for a Jaeger bomb? Because it was just a Jaeger bomb, or whatever it was. I don't know what it was really. And it was quite nice. I had 2 of them because Charlotte didn't want one. So I had 2 in the same time that everyone else was. Are you filming me? Stop it. No. Naughty. I'm not here for your footage.
Hey up everyone, it is now Monday the 3rd of April. I have finished Friendaholic by Elizabeth Day and I just thought this was ace. The bit about endings and friends dying just really, really got to me. I thought the part about Clemmy, her friend, who you all may know because I bang on about her books Year of Wonders, where you get a piece of classical music and Clemmy writes about it and then you go and listen to it every day for a year, and then there's another Year of Wonder. She is also in this book and I just think she is incredible, and her story around friendship is pretty heartbreaking in places. I also loved the chapter with Emma, who I really, really love, on best friend therapy, who is Elizabeth's best friend, and the way they talk about their friendship I just thought was really, really lovely. I will say I think people might go into this thinking that it's sort of a guide to friendship. That isn't the case. This is very much about Elizabeth and her friendships and how her friends feel about friendship, along with a few little vox pops, and that's just something to bear in mind. But what it has reminded me is how much I enjoy non-fiction when it's good, and this is really good. And I thought what I would do is, on that note, talk about what the reading that I've had in this vlog has kind of, well, at the beginning of the vlog I said that I'm looking over my 42nd year. I always say my 41st because I'm 41, but my 42nd year, because there's always that year 0. I know. I want to not only capture a bit of every single day of it, which I've done so far, I also want to sort of look at what I'm reading and what that is telling me about me being a reader. And as I just said, Friendaholic has reminded me that I really do enjoy non-fiction when it's good, or where I'm really invested in the subject matter or the author. Also, it has made me think, I've always said it's 3 novels, and that makes a favourite author for me, but can I count it as 3 non-fiction books too, plus a novel, because I read Magpie, which I really enjoyed, and actually it's reminded me I want to go to the beginning of Elizabeth's fiction and sort of work my way to the present. That's what this book has made me think with my reading. Returning to a favourite author with a tidy ending by Joanna Cannon. Don't put books off for a rainy day. If writing is this good, you're going to love it, whether it's raining, sun shining, snowing, thunderstorms, whatever the weather, favourite authors write books that become your favourite kind of books, and I just think her prose, I think the way she writes characters, it just brings a smile to my face, and it reminds me that I really love authors who make the ordinary feel extraordinary and celebrate that. So your Kate Atkinsons, your Joanna Cannons, who else can I think of that does it? Well, I'll document those along the way too, but yeah, absolutely loved reading this. Isaac and the Egg reminded me that I should try male authors more often, because I'm not very good at it, if I'm honest, and has really reminded me, and this is something that kind of I feel opens almost a can of worms, so thanks Bobby. No, I'm joking. But in the fact that this book is very unlike the sort of book that I would read. I don't just mean because it's written by a man, but also it just seemed so surreal and bonkers and odd, but that was part of what I loved about it, as well as the fact that it was a very emotional read. And yeah, and the reason I say it's like opening a can of worms is because I'm like, there's so many books that sound like the sort of books that I might not be sure about, and this shows that I should really be trying more of those. And there's just so many books out there. Sometimes it is mildly terrifying. Anyway, it's a nice problem to have. I will certainly be reading Bobby's next book when it comes out, I think next year. Then we have two books that I'm going to sort of talk about together. We have The Key in the Lock by Beth Underdown, and we have Wayward by Emilia Hart. And these both, being historical fiction, have really reminded me why I love historical fiction. Both of them had different alternating time periods. In the case of The Key in the Lock, it was 2, and in case of Wayward, it was 3. This one reminds me that I do like going to books with different characters that all interlink in some way. This one reminded me that I really like the use of foreshadowing and hindsight for one character. And I loved the fact that there were secrets. I loved the fact that this one was witchy, and I think at some point, probably quite soon, I'm going to head to some more witchy books or literature or witch lit or whatever they're calling it, because yeah, I just thought that the magic in here was brilliant and sort of gave me the tingles that I need to head to more. And this reminded me that not only do I need to head to more sort of gothic, mysterious historical fiction, I really need to get me to some Daphne du Maurier again, because she is just amazing. I don't know why I've left it so long, and the ripples of Rebecca, as I'm calling them, trademark now, in here really have ignited that desire to go back to her sooner rather than later. I don't know how long it's been since I've read Daphne du Maurier, but it's been a while. So a huge thank you. Also, they've both reminded me that I love a big house kind of book. I love books set in big houses. So yeah, that's definitely something. And also I will definitely read whatever Beth Underdown and Emilia Hart write next. Whew, so there we go, that was that. I am going to wrap up here. However, I will insert afterwards a tiny bit of footage from me and Elizabeth Day's event. The reason I say only a little bit is because a lot more of it will be in a reading blog that I'm actually going to start tomorrow on Tuesday, that will be coming to you possibly in a couple of weeks, because me and Mum's big Barbara Kingsolve extravaganza you might need popcorn for and to sit in your local cinema to watch will be coming soon, so look out for that one. But in the interim, if you've got this far, thank you very, very much, because this is one of the longest vlogs I have ever done, although it could be about to be beaten by the aforementioned one. If you have got this far, well, because it's going to go live on Easter Sunday, and because of Isaac, leave me an egg emoji below, or leave me an emoji of a bird, because they can lay an egg or two. I think that will be lovely. Thank you for joining me as always. It's been lovely spending time with you. I hope you've had a lovely time too. Let me know what you'd like to see in vlogs going forward. My Instagram, my Patreon, my wishlist and all those things are linked down below. If you like this, give it a thumbs up. If you want to subscribe, that'd be lovely. It'd be lovely to have you here more often. And yeah, chat to me about anything in the comments below that you want to, or any questions that I asked earlier on that I've forgotten now. And yeah, I will see you all in another video very, very soon. Over to me and Elizabeth. Bye. Hello and welcome to Waterstones Liverpool. I'm Simon Savage, and I'm delighted to be in conversation with my favourite day of any week. I had to go. Sorry, Elizabeth.
I've never had that in an intro. And you're my favourite type of fierce, Simon Savage.
Okay, I'll take that. I'll take that. I'll put that on my bio somewhere.